for coming. And this is another episode of Debunking Girl Math. We're excited to be with you. We're excited to be here. This podcast has been funded by the RCCD Foundation at Norfolk and includes uh, cast members and co hosts from Norfolk College. This podcast is also in partnership with our Norfolk College Umoja program. So we're thankful for the partnership. We're thankful for the funding. And we're so happy to be here to talk about all things economics under the umbrella of Debunking Girl Math. I am Tamara Cummings. I'm Associate Professor of Economics here at Norfolk College. You'll hear me called Mrs. Cummings, Tamara Cummings, Professor, a number of different things. But for now, I am your co host, and I'm happy to be here in the great company of my co hosts. Will you please introduce yourselves?
Yes, it's great to be here. I'm Paul Cunningham.
Hi everyone, Anna McFear.
Hello, everyone. My name is Cameron Card.
So, the podcast was inspired by students. It was a result of conversations that we had in class where we were discussing common day issues. Most of our classrooms deal with common day economics concepts and issues. And although we deal with theory quite a bit, we actually look at the applications of those theories in real life conversations. And as a result of an in class conversation and debate, someone brought up this idea of girl math, which I had never heard about. And so I learned very quickly about girl math in the classroom, which is a social media phenomenon. As a result of these conversations, several students, one of whom is Cole, approached and said, how can we extend these conversations? And he came back with, what about a podcast? And so he was there from the beginning where we started talking about how do we do a podcast? How do we even get funding for a podcast? And who will join us on the podcast? And later on, we came up with this concept, debunking girl math. However, we deal with all things economics here. Today is our final episode in this initial series, and we are also joined by individuals who are behind the camera, who are not on camera here at the table with us. And we have Doa Ross, who has been a great participant, our logistics operations person um, this entire series. We're also joined by our editor slash producer slash social media expert, Ashlyn Laxton, who is also one of my students. And we also have Diane Casillo, who has joined us and has been a staple here in co-hosting. However, she is behind the cameras today doing phenomenal work. And we also have Ruth, who is our media coordinator, director extraordinaire here at Norfolk College. And we have members in the audience whom we're thankful to be here. We have Savannah in our presence. So thank you for joining us, Savannah. So let's talk about debunking girl math. And one of the topics that we left with in our last episode was about these markups and jewelry and healthcare. And of course, you can extend this conversation beyond just those two items or just those two topics, but one of them was jewelry. Do we like jewelry? Do we buy jewelry?
Jewelry for me, I'm into it a little bit more. Before I wasn't into, but now I do wear like not today,
Okay.
but couple. I know.
Costume jewelry, precious metal jewelry. Very nice. Okay. What about our gentleman, Cameron?
We love jewelry over here.
We love jewelry. I like that.
I'm not wearing it today, but normally I will have earrings in and uh, other things as well.
Costume, the real deal.
Real deal.
The real deal.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what's a price point that's reasonable, Mr. Real Deal? What's a price point? So, I've seen you with your studs.
hmm It would definitely be if I have just a little something left in in my pockets. Probably like after I get done buying everything that I needed to buy. Like I normally save for like books and things like that for school. If I normally have money left over, I'll be like, okay, like nothing over 250.
Got it. Okay.
I stay under 250. If it's over 250, I look at another option. Because I feel like me personally, I'm not at that stage right now to where I'm gonna be buying earrings
For more
for
than that.
280. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I like that idea. How do we know if an item has been priced at cost or if it's been priced for the retailer with some level of markup? And do you even have that analysis that you consider when you're thinking about buying an expensive item? And by the way, it can be jewelry, it can be something else that's expensive, but let's say you find something that you like, it's $250. Are you connecting that to the cost, or you're just saying that's the price the retailer is selling it for and that's what I want?
Well, I know that it's always cheaper and that just they get the item and they up the price. So I normally negotiate and um normally I go it's in downtown LA. It's a jewelry little entire like a bunch of jewelry stores all in one big entire like warehouse.
Sure.
And so yeah, normally you go, you know who not to go to that overcharges, then you know who to go to. The person I normally go to, he normally tries to overcharge a little bit, and then I'll be like, "Hey, excuse me, come on, Pa, let me come on, like, $50 off. Come on, it's good." And then I normally get like a good $30 deal.
$30 deal. Okay, I like that. So a $30 discount.
Yeah, pretty much.
Got it. Okay, Anna, any thoughts about it? Cole, what about you? And you're welcome to use any other examples. And really, the premise of it, I just want to contextualize it for everyone, is oftentimes we hear in girl math, if I got it for 80% off, it's free. So let's have that conversation. 80% off. You're talking about $30 off,
Mhm.
but we didn't give the initial cost. Is it free? Go ahead, Anna or Cole.
I wouldn't consider that free because I'm still paying the 20%. But I think in my brain, when I think of MSRP, my cos I have a cosmetic background. I've been doing cosmetic sales 11 years now.
Sure.
So I've seen those invoice numbers and I've seen how much a lipstick really costs. So my brain's always like, dang, why are we spending more than what it actually costs? So I've always tried to look for a deal.
Yeah, kinda going off of that, I always think that the seller is never gonna sell at a loss unless it's an item that nobody wants, absolutely nobody wants. So, when you're getting that 20 only, like, 20% of the actual price, you're still paying more for what it actually costs to make it.
Mhm.
I think that's sound economic reasoning. If we think of even like Black Friday sales or Cyber Monday sales, what are we incentivized with, right? So we look at the signs and what do we say? The bigger the sign, the bigger the number, the better the deal. Right? Don't we all kind of think about it that way? And one thing that we learned certainly in the micro side of our classes is what's the cost to the producer? Well, the truth is we don't know. We know that the price is whatever is on that label, and then oftentimes that label is crossed over with a marker of some sort, and then it shows either a percentage discount or it shows a dollar value, right? Discount. But if we think of the cost, so let's say the cost to the jeweler to acquire those diamond studs was $50. Anna, you don't have to pull back because you're in this too, right? We've all done this. So let's say the cost of this pair of studs was $50, but you saw it at, let's say, 80% off, but you're not aware of the cost to the jeweler. The initial cost that you saw was, let's say, $400. $400, 80% off. Do you get it? Yes or no?
That's a steal.
So $400,
80% off.
80% off brings you to what? $80? Someone do the math. That's the math that I did. Someone double check my math, right? So it started at
That's
400,
that's a steal.
but it says 80% off.
That's a steal.
What's the part we didn't learn about? The cost to the producer.
Mhm.
So the producer got it for $50. So girl math would say, "Oh, that's free. That's a steal. I'm saving 80% of this item price." How much are we saving in the end? Ah, someone explain that to me. Why are we not saving anything?
Crazy.
That's crazy, but isn't that kind of the norm?
Yeah.
Right? We think, "Oh my goodness, such a great discount," in part because we're not aware, right? So there's what's called asymmetry of information where one side of the market knows a lot more about the transaction And let's say the other side of the market knows about it. So we can think about it in that context where ultimately we feel we're saving 80%, but in fact, that producer is making $30 profit on that particular item. Why? Because it cost them $50. You pay 80% less of the $400 value. Diane would say that's good business. That is really good business, right? And that's really the behavior in which we engage in, where you said it perfectly. The producer doesn't tell us how much it costs, but no producer is in business to sell at a loss. No producer, right? So if I'm in business, I am in business to make money. So I love this idea of how to think about these discounts. Thinking about the discount means we have an understanding of what it costs to produce that particular item, right? Or what the cost to the producer was for that particular item. Deep discount. And it's in red. Yes, those actually make a difference. And it's in neon red or flashing, right? Numbers. And the percentage is as close to 100 as we can possibly get. So I think your point is spot on, where we have this emotional appeal, right, brought on by marketing, which shows that they are experts at what they do, at what they produce. And for us as consumers, it's important for us to be aware that the cost to produce is going to be different than the price at which it's going to be transacted. And beyond that as well, how many of us will go to a store and only look for items that have a tag on it that looks red or that has an initial price crossed off, right? And then we say, "That's gotta be a discount." We're going we're going to say
If it got the yellow tag on it,
the yellows,
it's
yes,
discounted.
perfect. All those very attractive and appealing colors. One kind of tiptoeing into that world once upon a time for me, I grew up outside of the United States, and one of my siblings worked at Walmart for some period of time, and she had me in the field. This was eons ago, doing what's called comparison shopping. So I would go to the competitor and actually price out items to see the price at which they had it on the shelf. And I would come back to her and say, "Oh, that store has this particular can of this produce at this price." And she would actually slash the price of it. Do we believe any retailer put that can of produce on the shelf to lose money? Even if they slash the price by 2 pennies, right? 2 cents, even $1. They were never losing any money on that particular one. So, just food for thought. Another certainly example that I think is interesting to share is I shopped at very large, what I would call upscale retailer for our area, and it had 8 tags on it over the price, right? Where they put a new tag and a new tag and a new sticker and a new sticker, and it was 80% off, Cam. So I was super excited about buying this item. Why? Because the top sticker was 80% off. By the time I got home, I started trying to peel off each of the labels, and I found out I never got it on sale. I simply paid the higher price, and that was 8 tags later, which is why some of the retailers now leave, right, a tag on, and only the barcode on the shelf or on the hanger says "sale," which is taken at the register. So it pays to kind of have an understanding, to your point, of marketing strategies that help us understand how we end up paying, oftentimes, a profit level price, right, for the goods that we consume. The other side of it that I wanted to bring to the fore that we started having a conversation about was this thing about healthcare and discounts in healthcare. Do we have discounts in healthcare? What
Mm.
about this thing called health insurance, which a lot of you have and question whether you should have and question if it's worth paying the monthly premium? So someone help me understand, is it good to have healthcare coverage? Is it worth the price?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, 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 yes. Uh,
It's necessary. Yeah.
yes.
Please tell me more.
Um, because if you're not having health insurance, a single bottle of, like, aspirin will cost an astronomical amount at the hospital because they mark it up like crazy, and then they actually when it's not nearly that price, and then the health insurance will pay it, but they're not actually paying it off.
Yeah.
So for me, for instance, I'm I'm under my mother, of course. She works for the government, so she's fully covered. Our kids are fully covered till 26, and so pretty much like everything. I mean, it's phenomenally way cheaper than if even someone with uh Medi-Cal or Medicare was to get a certain thing, which is crazy. Um, and then with that as well, I also learned that they take a nice chunk out of her paycheck every single month.
So let's consider that idea. Cole just said you've got to have it.
Yeah.
You've got to have healthcare insurance because if you access care cash at a cash level, you probably could not afford it. So what does that lead us to understand? I could probably go broke if I don't have health insurance because I would be paying full price is what certainly I heard. Cole, correct me if I'm misunderstanding or misstating what you're saying. Okay. And Cam, you're saying the opposite, which is a lot of money comes out of your mom's paycheck for full coverage health insurance, but you question if the amount of money coming out of her paycheck to cover you for every incident of healthcare is worth the healthcare that you're accessing. Is that okay? So I have two really separate and distinct opinions here, and Anna has not yet chimed in.
I I'm a big proponent of use the insurance you have to your full potential. If you have a cold, go to the doctor, please. Get please get a tetanus shot if you hit a stapler. The reason though I feel that way is because it's so expensive. And the climate that we're living in right now isn't really guaranteeing us our healthcare that we have it today in 3. Um, I'd also like to add, I've been looking into it. I don't know if you guys have, but like private providers, so like not the major healthcare providers, doctors do offer their own like subscriptions from month to month. You do want to opt out for the general health insurance stuff, which is what I'm looking into. 'Cause yeah, they take a lot of money out of my husband's paycheck, and we're only getting a certain amount of benefits, and I still have to pay this large fee if I go to the emergency room. Um, lab work, X-rays, whatever would need to be done. But I think I also have a different perspective because I'm a mom. I'm also thinking about my child and will they need access to a doctor whenever I can get it? And what's to me, what's $50 to my baby getting care?
This is such a rich debate, and certainly we're simplifying it. We don't mean to simplify it so that it's not relevant. We're simply having a conversation about all these different viewpoints about do we insure ourselves? And you can think about health insurance, you can think about car insurance, but should we insure ourselves against what could potentially bankrupt us? Right. And so that's really the idea of healthcare insurance. And I'd love to hear a little bit more from everyone before we close out this particular segment, which is does it make sense for me to spend this discount, whatever that discount is? Anna, you said you're looking at uh, doctor's offices that provide their own subscription to their services. Should we buy the discount version, which is I have a lower deductible? Should I get a public health insurance coverage of some sort, which would essentially be a discount to ward off or to mitigate a potentially devastating financial incident that could occur to me in the future? And I think it's an important question. I don't think we have an answer for it, but we want to be able to open up the conversation. And I'll leave you with kind of this concept or this experience, and then you can pass your own judgment, and my co-host will add to it. When I was incredibly young, I was in an accident where I broke my back and I broke my ankles. And I learned at that time, again, remember, I was not raised in the United States. I did not have a concept of healthcare coverage and insurance or the cost of healthcare. And at the hospital, I was informed that I did not have coverage. And yet I lay there with a broken back and two broken ankles. And oh, I was probably in college just like all of you, right? So I was a young kid and my parents lived away. They also worked for the government at that time. So here I am flying solo with my older sibling, trying to understand exactly what's being said. And at the time, there was no such thing as Medi-Cal or Medicaid, right, to cover the expense of what I had. So I leave you with this. Yikes, I had to learn very quickly that I incurred a debt of $80,000 when I could not even fathom making $80,000, all because I was in a car accident that wasn't my fault. I was a passenger in the vehicle. Had I had healthcare insurance, my parents paying a lot for it at the time, would that have justified them paying a lot for it and feeling like I wasn't taking advantage of it on a daily basis, but it finally covers me for $80,000? Or was it better to say, well, I couldn't afford it, so I have to figure it out, but I'm starting at 18 years old with an $80,000 debt? Those are two scenarios to consider. Which one makes me better off? To have insured myself for an $80,000 accident or to have had insurance that reduced the price of the $80,000 charge that I received post accident? Right. So these are the questions we ask ourselves. Do I have health care insurance? Should I have health care insurance? What is it taking care of today? And I think Anna also brought a really important concept to the fore, which is doctors offering up subscriptions for healthcare. What exactly does that mean? That I can only receive the services that that doctor offers at the time that doctor offers it? Or does it open me up to all the services I may need? As you pointed out, Cam, you wanted Invisalign. So if you have a subscription with one doctor, does that cover you for this cosmetic procedure? So there's so many nuances to this situation that we can talk a little bit more about. And we should consider it for our next segment. Any concluding or closing thoughts, co-hosts?
I just a little bit about that. I think insurance is still necessary because I think the chances of you being in an accident where you need to go to the hospital at some point are very high. I mean, it happens. It's gonna happen probably to you once in your life. And you could get benefits from that insurance depending on what you get. I remember one time I was in kindergarten and I broke my leg. We ended up at the hospital and they told us, "Oh, it's gonna be like an hour late," and then they wanted to see our insurance and stuff. We showed them our insurance, and then they say, "Okay, we could get you in the back room right now." So they take us to the back room because our insurance, I don't know what we had at the time, but we got that benefit of being able to skip the line into where I could get treated quicker.
So it's really a rationing device as well. Health insurance as a rationing device. It gets you access to the service that you most desperately need because you have it, right? As opposed to someone who simply doesn't have it. I love that idea. Thank you for sharing that. Anyone else?
I think that insurance overall is very important, regardless of if it's car insurance, health insurance, house insurance. Especially like where we live in an empire, and California, Southern California is known for wildfires, and
Absolutely.
so things such as house insurance is really important. Things such as insurance overall is important because it covers you. And if you're able to get insurance, regardless if it's the insurance that you are able to get from the government, or if you get it from work, or if you get it whatever way you receive it, I think that you should definitely be insured.
I like that. Thank you for that.
Agree as well. I think it should be if it's available and accessible.
Thank you for pointing to that. That deals with, right, the market, which is you have a willingness and you have the ability, you should engage in that transaction. So thank you for joining us on this episode of Debunking Girl Math, where we've had, I would call it a serious conversation about two really important topics with a little bit of fun. We hope to see you next time.